Well, you're tuned to WKRK 1320 AM, 105.5 FM, cable TV channel 25. Worldwide, we're at country.am. And right here in the house, I have Sheriff Derek Palmer.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's a beautiful day today.
Isn't it gorgeous?
We should be finding other things to do than to be on the radio. We should be at the lake or fishing or something today.
Something.
Have a picnic. We could have a picnic.
A picnic. You work in the garden.
There you go. That'll work.
Mm-hmm.
It's about that time, isn't it? Have to get our gardens ready. And we last year I had some tractor troubles and didn't get a garden done last year. And every time I got it fixed and started plowing, it messed up again. And
I have a few pots
right.
that plant tomatoes, and that's about the extent of my garden.
Well, we're planning on doing a garden this year, but we're going to reduce it down because it's a lot of work. It's when I was a kid growing up, of course, we canned and my mom canned and froze stuff and for the winter time, but we had 2 and sometimes 3 huge gardens to work, and it was every day doing something and all day, every day, and after school, and Dad worked in it all day long, and
and y'all worked in it
after that, yeah. And Mom canned all night, and it was good memories, but it was a lot of work. Mm-hmm. Have you ever noticed that when you remember things from the past, sometimes you block out all the bad things about it and just remember the good parts of it?
Yes, you do.
Yeah, I guess it's our human nature, but
because I'm sure that the canning process itself,
right,
standing in that kitchen, being hot all day.
Well, you know, when we were kids growing up, and a lot of people can identify with this, they didn't worry about us being locked up in the rooms playing on games or anything like that, because when Mom was canning in the summer, it would be 140 degrees in that house, and you didn't want to be in that house in the summertime. You wanted out the back door and go find a cool shade tree somewhere to play under. Yep. So we spent most of our time outdoors, and we didn't have the luxuries I guess they have today to be able to air condition and sit in the house. I remember when we first got our window unit air conditioner, I thought, man, that's great. That's the best thing it's ever been. And talking about memories, I know we right here to talk about memories, but one of the other memories I remember too, and I don't know if you ever experienced this, was in the summertime we didn't have air conditioning growing up, so we had box fans that we sat in the windows to try to create a draft. And of a nighttime, those little green grass fleas was what we used to call them. They're like grasshoppers, but they're little tiny flea things. Yeah. The fans used to suck those in the wind every night.
You wake up with green little dots.
Yeah, you'd have them all over you the next morning, being all over. But it was a good thing to remember, I guess. One thing I do want to mention before we go on with the show today is that tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. we are having a prayer breakfast at Valleytown Baptist Church. Did anybody like to come to that? I'll be speaking there tomorrow morning.
That's a men's prayer breakfast.
Men's, I don't. If women want to come, they can come too. But it's a men's prayer breakfast. But we're not going to exclude anybody. I'll put it that way. Yeah, there you go. But it is a men's prayer breakfast, and I invite anybody that would like to come up and take part in that. I was just actually in a text message with the pastor right before we went on air and asked him about cooking in the morning, and he said, let me read his quote here. He said that they've gotten sausage biscuits from Hardee's, and his wife is sending over a crock pot with grits and all kind of good things. And he said, just come on by in the morning and we'll eat. Don't have to worry about going up and cooking. So we'll just go by there and have a breakfast and spend the day studying, or the morning, I should say, studying. And I'll be speaking tomorrow, and I'll do kind of a short devotion sermon type something in the morning. So come on out and take part in that. I would appreciate it for anybody that would come. And I'm going to try to, if I don't forget it on Fridays, try to keep people updated as to where I'm going to be speaking in different places, because I know a lot of people ask. About times where I'm out and speaking and doing sermons and going to churches and different stuff. So I'll try to keep that in my mind and remind people on Fridays where I'm going to be speaking for the weekend, where I'm going to be. And I know a lot of people have come out and enjoy that and take part in that, and so I enjoy doing it. Last night, my wife and I went to the Free Will Baptist Church over in Hayesville to the revival they're having over there, and that's Chris Rumfeld's church over in Hayesville, and we had a wonderful time there last night. There was a good singing, good preaching, and good fellowship over there. And it's going on again tonight. And tonight is the youth night. And Reverend C.T. Townsend will be speaking tonight. And anybody that's not ever heard C.T. Preach needs to experience that. And he's a wonderful evangelist and wonderful singer. He and his wife sings. And so they'll be there tomorrow night and be doing the youth night. I'm sorry, that is tonight, isn't it? Yeah. Be there tonight and be the youth night. And if you can't go or there's some reason that you can't make it over to Hayesville tonight, they're streaming that live on Facebook. So you can go to Facebook Live and watch that tonight. And so just encourage everybody to take part in that. How important it is today for us to keep grounded in all the troubles that are going on around us in the world. So it's good to have a faith and friends and family that can keep you kind of down to earth.
Yep. Now, on youth night, they have pizza for the youth.
They do. And I think that pizza, they're going to be serving the pizza there after the service. So if, any of the youth wants to come up there and take part in that, then after the service itself, they'll be gathering in the fellowship hall for pizza night, and like I said, any of the kids in the area is welcome to come to that. Mm-hmm. I know last night they had people there all the way down in from Fannin County and Gilmer and Towns County and a lot of those Georgia counties and several North Carolina counties were there. I know, of course, Clay, it being in Clay, but I ran into all kind of people from Cherokee County there last night, people from Graham County. Macon County, some people wrote. So there's people from all over coming, and they expect a huge crowd tonight. So come take part in that. I'm sure they'd appreciate it. And if you have any kids, be sure to make sure they come.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing that has been on my mind this week that I wanted to ask you about was that whole very sad situation with the hit and run. However, she had no idea she had hit him.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know the details of that because that is a highway patrol investigation. So I don't really want to release a whole lot as far as information and things about the case itself. But I will tell you this, that our hearts and prayers go out to the families involved in that. Anytime you have a tragic accident, it doesn't matter what the circumstances are. There's family that's left behind that is impacted by that greatly. And so we want our hearts and prayers to go out from that. And I see there where the Highway Patrol did put out one. You can read the release there if you'd like to.
Okay. At approximately 6:45 p.m. Tuesday, February 21st, Ethan Nathaniel Pacone, age 19, of Marble, passed away after being struck by a motor vehicle on Reservoir Road in Murphy. First Sergeant Chris Wood of the North Carolina State Highway Patrol tells WKRK that Ethan Pacone was walking in the travel portion of the roadway toward Murphy with his back to traffic and was struck from behind. The vehicle left the scene of the accident. There were no witnesses. Law enforcement officers seized a Kia SUV operated by Tricia Lynn Hartness, age 28, of Murphy. Also seized was her cell phone. No alcohol or drugs were involved. Tricia Hartness turned herself in to the Cherokee County Sheriff's Office at approximately 11:30 p.m. that same evening. First Sergeant Wood said it was a tremendous effort between the Murphy Police Department, Cherokee County Sheriff's Office, and the North Carolina State Highway Patrol to be able to locate a suspect on the night of the accident to help provide answers to the family of the victim. Charges are pending and the case is still under investigation, but we send out our condolences.
We do.
Not only to Ethan's family, but to the young lady's family.
Right.
To her and her family.
Right. They, and this was an effort between three agencies there. We assisted the Highway Patrol in collection of evidence and, interviews, picture taking, all those kind of things that goes along with that. And anytime we have a tragic event like that, we try to work together with our surrounding agencies to get a resolution to those situations. And I think it's a testament to the good work that our deputies do along with Highway Patrol officers and the Murphy Police Department, Andrews Police Department also, and we have things up there in Andrews. But we all have a good working relationship together. We confide in each other. We depend on each other for help out there. And, just like we talk about all the time, if a deputy's out there that's in trouble, somewhere. A highway patrolman may be the one that's closest, or if they're in trouble, we may be nearby. And so it's important to have that good working relationship with each other so that these officers can depend on each other out there. But, like I say, it is a tragic event. Our heartfelt prayers do go out to both families involved in this, and we just hope that nothing like this happens anytime again in the near future. One thing I do want to say about this also, for people out there, it's important that you understand that if you do find yourself in a place where you're walking on a highway for whatever reason, if you have a vehicle broken down or whatever, that you are to walk facing traffic. If you walk facing traffic in a lane, you have a better opportunity of getting out of the way or getting out of the road. If a car doesn't see you, or if they drop off the shoulder of the road or something like that, you can have reaction times, and sometimes you might get out of the way completely. Sometimes you might get out of the way enough that you don't lose your life. Right. So if you do find yourself walking on highways, remember to walk facing traffic, not away from traffic.
Now, bicycles are supposed to ride with traffic.
With traffic, yeah.
But you're supposed to walk.
You're supposed to walk facing traffic, yeah. And also that brings up a good point, too, as far as bicycles and those things. If you're on a bicycle, motor scooters, any of those type of things, even with a bicycle, you're to obey traffic laws and do whatever the traffic laws is for cars. If it's red lights, if it's passing rules and turn signals and those kind of things. And even with a bicycle, there's hand signals that are supposed to use for turning. And so just remember that if you find yourself, if you're a cyclist and you cycle on the highways, just remember you are to obey those traffic laws and those traffic patterns with that.
Another thing is to try and remember to wear something that is reflective.
Right.
If you're wearing dark colors, you are nearly impossible to be seen.
My wife and I was actually going to church. I guess it was Wednesday night. We were on our way to Andrews to Valleytown, and we were coming up the 4-lane there at the Huddle House, where the red light is at the Huddle House in Andrews. And I was driving. I was passing a car. I was in the fast lane there, and just real quickly, in just a flash, there was a person standing in the median there on the side of the 4-lane. I guess they were crossing the 4-lane to come across. But they were wearing dark clothing, and I was by them before I realized there was even someone there, And so it is important that if people are out, especially of a night, use flashlights, use reflective clothing, use things that's highly visible, that people can see. And I know there's emergency circumstances that you have to, but if it's raining, if it's foggy and stuff like that, try not to walk on the highways or be on the edge of the roads, because it is so easy to hydroplane, so easy to dip off the road in the fog, or the reaction times are a lot less if it's foggy outside. So just remember that, and use safety precautions when you're out there. And like I say, I know there's times you have to. It could be a vehicle broken down, or it could be an emergency, or a lot of different reasons why you might be out there. But just remember, those motorists can't always see you.
That's right.
So be careful about that. We are fortunately or unfortunately, depending on which way you want to look at it, entering into budget time again. And it's time that we are starting to work on budgets countywide and trying to get those submitted to the county. And so we're trying to keep those as low as possible. As always, we know that I don't want, and most people in the county doesn't want, their taxes to increase or have to pay more. We totally understand that. However, the needs of Cherokee County are growing greater and greater and greater every year. And for law enforcement, for EMS, for even your other services such as DSS and health department, and I mean, even trash pickup. I mean, there's all kind of different things in the county that, due to the populations, due to the growth of the county, that are having to expand and do more and need more. That's causing a concern, might say, among the citizens and among the county commission board and the county managers, how are we going to get all this done? How are we trying to get all these things together? So as a department head, as sheriff, and also the other department heads around the county, we are trying our best to keep things as low as we can keep it, but still provide those services that we need to provide to our county residents out there. We have, at the sheriff's office, we have kind of streamlined everything down from the first year that we came in at 2014, that first budget that we did. We cut about $800,000 out of the budget that year of just what we considered waste or fluff or things that we can do differently. But in the years since then and up into this year, slowly but surely, we're putting a lot of that money back into the budget, but putting it back into things that we need that would benefit the people and of the county. I mean, you're looking at things, cars wear out, you've got to replace those. You've got more calls for service out there, so it takes more officers to respond to that. Civil process is increasing greatly, so we have to have people that does that. Our court system, where we always relied upon part-time help, part-time bailiffs for the court system in years past, now is getting to the place where we're having court almost every day during the year. So we're now looking at having to hire full-time people to do those, to help with the court system and those type of things. Also a big topic that's in the county that I've been discussing with the county commission board members and with the county manager this past week is animal control. The issues within the county of stray animals and animal control and dangerous animals and things of that nature has got to be addressed within the county. So we've been trying to work up solutions and ways for that as how we're going to approach that and what we're going to do about that and where do we need to start with that. So there's a lot of different topics, a lot of different issues that we have to take in consideration when it comes to budget time. We're looking at things this year as far as, and these are monies that can come out of our asset forfeitures that we seize, that's turned over to us by the state. So it's not necessarily coming out of county budget, but it is coming out of asset forfeiture money. We're looking at things such as body cameras, in-car cameras, things like that to protect our officers and protect the citizens that are out there. A lot of times there's accusations and things made both toward the officer and accusations that's made in court toward citizens that could be clarified if we had body cameras, if we had in-car cameras and things of that nature. So we're looking at trying to implement some of that stuff this year and get some of that stuff going to where some complaints that are filed and some of these accusations that are made, behavior of people and stuff like that, we could go back and review those cameras and see what the reality of that was. And so it not only protects the officers, but it also protects the citizens, both on that. So we're just looking at some different advances like that on when it comes up to budget time. Our 911 center, of course, we've got a brand new 911 center. It's state of the art. It's rivals any center in Western North Carolina. So we're very proud of that. We've got communications now with the cars, the patrol officers right up there, and Murphy PD has come on board and Andrews PD has come on board as far as the Viper system and as far as the in-car computers and all those kind of things, to where we can have real-time tracking and stuff of what officers are doing out there. When I first started talking about GPS tracking cars and AVLs and all those kind of things, it kind of worried the officers that Big Brother's watching, every time we park somewhere, every time we stop to do a report or whatever, somebody's going to be calling, wanting to know why we're not patrolling, why we stopping. But that's not what they're used for. What the AVLs and the GPS systems and all that does in the car is so our dispatch center that is there can look in real time on a map on the wall and see where all the patrol officers are and see who's closest to the call, who needs to be dispatched to that call. Who, if there's a person, if there's an officer out there that has been on a traffic stop and he's maybe been there too long and he doesn't respond by radio, they know where to send other officers to check on him, things of that nature. So it's a safety issue. It's a safety feature that we have. And it's been utilized several times for that. And the officers really started loving it when they were out here on some of these back roads and some of these places and they couldn't find a house, and the dispatch was watching it on their map and say, well, you need to turn left where you're at right now and go to the top of the hill and take that next right,
Cool.
So it really helps on responding to calls, cutting down on time on responses, keeping track of our officers, make sure they're safe and things of that nature. And so if we have an officer,
big issue.
It is. And here, I think about this and I laugh about it. It wasn't funny to them, but it was funny to me when they were talking about it. I went to a school one time as a deputy. And while I was at this school, there was a Charlotte police officer in there. And the officer had just come off duty and was going to this class, and they was just ranting and raving and fussing because they answered a call the night before, and their closest backup was 4 minutes away. and that was just unacceptable to them, that it was 4 minutes away. And I was sitting here thinking, we have rural places in this county where your nearest person is 30 minutes away,
Yeah, exactly.
to come help you. And so, we realize that, and we realize that's an issue within our county. And so everything we can do to help make our officers safe, to help our officers, get help to our officers when we need them. And that's not just us, but also Murphy Police Department, Andrews Police Department. Getting help to them if they need help, and being able to look at that and see exactly where they're at in the county or where their last known place was. That really helps us cut that response time down and get to someone that needs help. So I'm very proud of the technology that we have been able to implement at the Sheriff's Office. And as we look at budget times and looking at in-car cameras and these type of things, it's just more technology there to implement with this to try to help, like I say, not only keep our officers safe and to keep the public safe, but also just do a better job, do a better job with what we're at and what we're doing. And I would love to sit here and tell the people listening that we always make the right decision and that we always do the right thing and that we always got that report written on time, and that's always, but the reality of it is we do make mistakes.
And spur of the moment
Right.
decision making has to happen.
Right. And sometimes you make the wrong decision, and sometimes, that has to be rectified and fixed. And sometimes investigations and things, with people out there, they don't understand why an officer did what he did, or why he didn't respond as quick as he did, or why he didn't do what they thought he should do. But we not only have to look at that we have more than just one person to protect. We have 30,000 other people out there we need to protect. And in addition to that, we also have rules and regulations and court rules that we have to abide by. And officers have to do investigations and things in a certain way to where when it goes to court, it's not going to get thrown out of court on a technicality. And so a lot of times people don't understand that, and they think that we should be moving faster than we're moving or doing more than we're doing, when in reality the officer is doing a good job and doing it the right way. It's just that it takes a little time to get done. So, I think that most of the people that's out there, from what I hear from one end of this county to the other, I think most of the people out there are happy with the Sheriff's Office, are proud of the work the Sheriff's Office is doing, and are proud of the officers and the jobs that they're doing out there. And then, of course, you get those from time to time that are disgruntled for whatever reason. But
some people are just disgruntled. Period.
Right. But I think overall, I think we're in a good place and doing a great job, and I'm proud of my people, and I'm proud of what we've been able to accomplish the last couple of years. And when we talk about budgets and we talk about these things, not only do we have to talk about the Sheriff's Office budget, but we also have a detention center that we have to take into account, and we also have to talk about dispatch because that's part of the Sheriff's Office also. One of our issues this year for budget that we're going to discuss in our workshop with the commission board and the county manager is the fact of that the Sheriff's Office itself is now getting on up to about 10 years old. And so it was opened in 2007 for operation, and the detention center opened then, where we're at now. So for the last 10 years, we have been operating on our facility maintenance budget has been $0 allotted for that, because it was a new building and there was no need for that. Right. And now we're getting to a building that's about 10 years old. We're getting into flooring issues that needs to be repaired, painting issues. We're getting into carpets been worn out and all those kind of things, and lobbies need to be redone and all those kind of stuff, and just general repairs and general maintenance that needs to be done to the building. When the tornado came over several years ago, it came almost straight over the top of the Sheriff's Office, and so that left a little bit of structural damage in the Sheriff's Office that was never repaired, that was never fixed. So we're looking at all those type of things that needs to be repaired and needs to be done. So we're expecting maybe this year to try to develop a plan as far as facilities maintenance and how to try to get some of those things around there fixed that we need fixed, that we've not had a budget for the last 10 years. So you'll see some changes in the budget that type of way. I don't expect the budget to go up drastically. I expect it to stay about where it is now. We've done very good about keeping the budget low and without having to go back and ask for extra things. We ran into an issue last year where we had to have new cars, and we got quite a few cars last year to try to get us up to where we need to be. We're probably on schedule to replace them about About 4 cars this year, I think, is what we're going to look at replacing to keep us where we need to be. And that's something that we've also been in discussion with the county manager, and we'll be in discussion with the commission as a board when we get into our workshops about those needs and how we're going to pay for those, and county monies versus, asset forfeitures and all those kind of things. So, but when you talk about things wearing out, we've got tasers we've got to replace. The tasers that officers carry now are obsolete. They no longer make them. They no longer make cartridges and batteries and stuff for them. So as they tear up and as they, the whole thing needs to be replaced because we can't get replacement parts and things for them. So you run across those issues that you really have no control over. You have to do. But unfortunately, that costs money, and we have to figure out how to pay for that. And so that's what we're all in the process of doing with the budget time right now, is just trying to figure out how we're going to pay for all this stuff. But giving the commission board credit for on their end of it, even though I fight for the sheriff's office, and I fight for the things we need for the sheriff's office, and I fight for protecting the citizens of the county, the commission board only has a pot of money to pay out of. And so they have more than just the sheriff's office to worry about. They have all these other departments that they have to worry about and to take care of. And so they're under the crunch of trying to figure out what are the vital needs, what are the things that we have to do, what are the things that we've got to get done this year, and then some of these other things have to come into play later. And so when you run across those things, like a lot of the, well, I don't want to call any of them by name, but when you come into the extra things that people come to ask county monies for, that are very worthwhile projects and are very good things, it's hard sometimes for the commission board to approve those, not because they're against them, or not because they don't think it's a worthwhile thing to do. It's just because they only have a certain pot of money to pull from, and there are things that they have to do and have to pay for those things first. When it comes to law enforcement, when it comes to public safety, when it comes to EMS and mandatory things from the Department of Social Services, mandatory things from the health department, you got garbage trucks that's torn up, you've got to pick the garbage up. When you got all these things that you have to do as a county, sometimes people don't understand that money's gone and there's not much left of it. And so even when they have a surplus, and even when there's a little bit left of several $1,000s left in the pot, the commission board also has to take into account things are going to happen during the year that we didn't account for. Things are going to tear up. There's emergencies going to happen. And so we've got to keep things in the pot there to make sure that we have enough money to cover those incidentals that we've not planned on. And so sometimes it's hard for people to understand that, and they look at the sheriff's office budget and the budgets of other offices and departments within the county, and they say, well, that's an extraordinary amount of money. But like with the sheriff's office itself, not only do we go out and answer calls and respond to calls, but we have to keep track of all the sex offender registrations, gun permits, purchase permits, civil process, evidence collection, storage of evidence, all the administrative things the sheriff's office does.
Somebody's got to do that. Right.
You got to pay somebody to do it, and you've got to, it's a service you have to do for your people. Some of it's mandated by law. You have to do it. And so we have to do the best we can with that, but yet we have to try to keep that budget as low as possible also. So hopefully we'll get that accomplished, and we'll start doing our workshops here before too long, and we'll have more information out as to what the budget will actually be this year. It won't be finalized till about May, June, somewhere along in there, usually about the end of May. But we have to start now working on it.
Yeah, well, you started right after the budget was done, thinking about what you got to do for next year.
Right. We do what they call on our budgets. We have a place to look at on our budget, see what we've expended out of the year, and for example, 6 months we ought to be at 50%, right, of our budget. So we kind of can look at that and gauge on where we're overspending and where we're underspending on things. And I talked with the chief, myself and Chief Deepin met yesterday and talked about some of this stuff. And as we were going over the budgets and looking at this, I asked him, I said, Chief, is there anything we're overspent on, anything that we're just need more money for next year? And really there was very few things, most things where we're way under budget on. And so because that we're managing it good and coming way under budget on things, we really don't expect to have to increase a lot of line items this year and going back and asking for more stuff other than some extra help, you know. And so we feel real good about the budget. We feel real good that it's not going to change much this year from years past.
That's good.
Yep. And that's about all I have today, unless there's something else you want to talk about.
I can't think of anything.
Okay.
You know I'm like that.
Right.
Okay, well, I'm going to stop the recording and